We are back for another episode of Property Now, brought to you by Composite. I'm your host, Michael Carbone. My friends call me Carbs. And Tommy, I'm excited today because my team, we do a lot of research from the SEO, social media perspective. We're looking at trends and what people are asking for. And what a lot of people are asking for right now is property, Newcastle. Those two terms come up quite a lot together. And so we had to bring the experts in.
Absolutely.
Not saying you're not an expert, Tom.
Or I'm just here to even the numbers.
We're here to learn and ask questions.
Yep.
But probably when I think about property in Newcastle, there's a person that always springs to my mind, and we had to invite him onto the show. So Ed Crawford, how are you, mate?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
You're one of the founders, directors at Tri-State. You can tell us a little bit about that throughout this project as well. But I just always on LinkedIn, like, this is what's great about being in Newcastle. Here's some things you need to know about Newcastle. I thought we need to get you.
Thank you. Look, yeah, I do. I'm an advocate for Newcastle. It's home for me, and I'm a screaming promoter of all things Newcastle. It's just a great place, and it's a really, really good market, and I know it's been good for you guys as well. So happy to be here.
Fantastic. Our other guest, who I guess very big in the Newcastle area now as well. So Autobiography, it's a builder and developer. You guys doing stuff in Sydney, but a lot up in that region too. Mario Mourad, one of the founders of Autobiography. Welcome to the pod, mate.
Thanks for having me. It's an honour to be here.
This is the first time we're meeting as well, so really great to be getting to know you. Second project you've had on the Composite platform as well. And we don't just do this with Ed, you're not selling anything with Composite at the moment, so you're here as an expert. We're going to talk about your project as well, your new Autobiography project as well. But really what we want to dig into today is the Newcastle market and what is driving demand in the region. I might throw that to you, Ed, to start.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Newcastle is the second biggest metro area in New South Wales, so it's close to Sydney. It's become a really attractive, beautiful city over the last, say, 20, 25 years. People have probably historically thought of Newcastle as the old steel city, an industrial sort of heartland, and it still is in some ways, but all of that heavy industry has sort of wrapped up over the last 20 years, so it's really now become a very beautiful, livable, desirable city with all the amenities of a major metro centre. So I think the main thing that's driving demand is the fact that it's a great place to live and work and do all those things that people want to do. It is relatively affordable compared to Sydney and the other major metro centres in Australia, and it's accessible. You know, you can get to Sydney quickly. People work from home more now, so there's a whole range of reasons for people wanting to come to Newcastle. The main one is it's just a great place to live.
On that point, so with the work from home since COVID, so 2020, 2021, did you notice a lot of people from Sydney migrating up to Newcastle for that reason?
I think it was one of the reasons, Tom. We all sort of learned how to work from home during COVID. We had to learn how to use Zoom and all that sort of thing. I mean, that's been done to death, but that was one of the reasons. One thing we did see was our clients, after that sort of period of time, building in home offices and work from home facilities a little bit more intentionally. But I think people really took stock of the way they lived rather than the fact that they were forced to work from home. People wanted to live more intentionally. I know that sounds like a bit of a buzzword, but people really wanted to live their best lives. And I think a lot of people, you know, during those lockdowns were looking around saying, maybe this isn't it. And so they were looking a little bit further afield if they were in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Newcastle was coming up again and again like it is now. So that was one of the reasons, the work from home thing, but I think it really just gave people pause to think about how they wanted to live, and that includes where they want to live.
I think Newcastle's interesting in that it's close enough to Sydney to get to easily,
Sure is.
but it's also far enough away that you're not paying those Sydney prices. And I guess one of the big things that I always love is when I think about, if someone asks me, like, close your eyes, think about where you want to live. I see I'm close to a CBD, but I'm also close to a beach. And Newcastle hits those 2 points. And I guess for someone from a lifestyle perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And I guess it's probably one of the reasons why you guys, Mario, are developing a lot in that region as well. Can you take us through some of those reasons, I guess?
Yeah, Ed hit nail on the head. Newcastle's a phenomenal city. It's thriving at the moment. It's got its own challenges, but in terms of lifestyle, it's unrivaled. I mean, you look at the other cities that are available, You got Wollongong, Canberra, Central Coast, unrivaled with Newcastle. A lot of people that have moved up there see value in the lifestyle itself, as well, being an affordable market. They see value in the development they buy, or the apartment they buy, or home that they buy. It's unmatched. And what drew us to Newcastle is the same reasoning what draws buyers to Newcastle. Yep. So we're investing in Newcastle. And the great thing is, and the latest trends are, the private sector is matching, their investments matching almost the public sector investment at the moment. And that tells you of the emerging trends that are happening in Newcastle although it's a regional city, it is established. Yep. We love Newcastle. We love investing in Newcastle. We're Sydney based, but I think I was telling you, we're addicted to Newcastle at the moment. So
yeah,
we'll be there for quite a while.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's what I love hearing that from developers.
Yeah.
The area that we're building in and investing in, we're there and we want to be there for a long time, because that says a lot to trust when it comes to buying in that area too. Are you guys, and this is a question for both of you, but are you guys seeing that the buyers coming into either your projects or to the projects that you're selling, Ed, are you seeing that it's mostly, is it locals staying in the area? Is it people moving up from Sydney? Are there other areas where there's interest in either investing or moving?
It is a good question. Over time, that segment of out of area inquiry and actual purchasing has grown, dramatically. If you rewind 15 or 20 years in the Newcastle market, it might have been 1% of inquiry was out of area, and it was mostly from Sydney. That's probably now 1 in 3 inquiries, and it could be something like 1 in 3 or 4 purchases are from out of area. Mostly, and those out of area buyers, mostly Sydney, but also the central west of New South Wales, Brisbane, Melbourne. You get the odd one from Perth, so you get all those random ones, but most of them are from Sydney, and more recently Melbourne. And I think what Mario's saying is the fact that Newcastle is the second major metro conglomeration in New South Wales is really putting us on the map in terms of proximity to Sydney, the great lifestyle and the relative affordability. People do property searches based on a few metrics, not just what's in the suburb next to them in Sydney or Melbourne, but what makes sense for them as an investor and as someone who can be fairly mobile. As you said, Michael, Newcastle, I got the train here this morning. It's 2 hours from Newcastle interchange to where we're sitting now. So it's really easy. It's, the new inner city fleet is brilliant. So that really works well. And Newcastle having an international airport as well means you can get to, I can be sitting in Brisbane in the same time it takes me to drive to Sydney. So it's really well connected. So there's a few things that are bringing people in and out of the major metros, because you can do all those things from Newcastle. So we do see so many more people now coming in from out of area. Investors, people are moving here. Certainly young buyers and first home buyers are coming in because you can, it's affordable.
What do those buyers look like, the Sydney ones in particular? Because I think if I was a young investor from Sydney looking at, can I afford something around me? One of the areas I might be looking at is Newcastle. Are you finding that the Sydney buyers are investors with a view to a one-day move there, or is it buyers that are looking to make a tree change or a sea change?
It depends. It depends on the project and the type of property, but I think predominantly we see fairly well-heeled downsizers selling in Sydney and coming into existing housing stock in Newcastle, mainly in the inner ring suburbs, in the sort of that CBD area, where you can buy a lovely home on a big block for $2.5 million, and you can walk to the beach, walk to the harbour, and put money in the bank. It's very compelling and very affordable. So for people who are in that position where they can do that, they absolutely come to Newcastle and go, I can walk to the beach, the harbour's there, Sydney's 2 hours down the road, it's a no-brainer. But we do see a lot of younger, probably more investors than people moving here. So a young working person in Sydney, as you said, Michael, is probably likely to say, hey, I can buy a lovely one-bedroom apartment with a car space for $650,000 or $700,000, and it's literally 200 metres to the harbour and a 10-minute walk or 2 light rail stops to the beach. So that, I think people are saying that's where either I would like to live or someone who wants to rent from me is going to want to be. Yeah. So they see it as a really safe option and a very secure long-term sort of strategy.
Yeah, lovely. I love that. And let's talk about some of the infrastructure then. So you sort of touched on earlier how, it used to be the steel city. It was all about the mines at the time, the Johns Brothers, maybe Silverchair. Those are the things I would think about when I think about Newcastle.
We're still very proud of those.
Still very proud of those things as well. But it's a city in its own right, and there's a lot happening. So what are some of the things that are happening? Because I think that's, if you're looking to buy into an area you're not used to, you're probably thinking about what's there, what's coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's nice to sort of talk about some of the the feel good things, yeah. But when you look at the real drivers of economic activity and employment, there's massive government investment, as you said, Mario. The last 10 or 12 years in the inner city has seen a program that the New South Wales government ran called Revitalising Newcastle rolled out, and that included light rail, a whole lot of work around the harbour, a lot of infrastructure in the city, and that has really beautified the city and made it the livable destination that developers and buyers want to be a part of. We've seen a lot of out-of-area developers coming in, and you've probably seen some of those people as well, because they're seeing the value. But there was a massive investment in the city itself, and the private sector responded in multiples to that. But if you look at other things like Newcastle Airport, it's now a genuine international airport. That's a major piece of infrastructure for the city, but also for the people that live there. You don't have to drive to Sydney to fly overseas. Newcastle Airport, things like the M1 extension that takes the M1 right through to Raymond Terrace and north, so it technically bypasses a big part of that sort of run through Newcastle. But that's $1 billion plus project, so there's massive government spend in that alone, and that probably opens up some of those northern, Raymond Terrace, Heather Brain. We can talk about some of the hotspots later, but it really connects some of those outlying areas and makes them far more attractive. Things like the Hunter Expressway that really opened up all of the Lower Hunter into Pecolbin and Singleton and those areas. All of that infrastructure just has a massive economic return. But even things like big investment in the university, big investment in the health infrastructure and Northern New South Wales health around the John Hunter. Although people see that sort of thing happening and they say, well, government's investing, the infrastructure's here, the jobs are here, the university's here, why aren't I here? So that's what's happening. When people see that investment, they realise that it is a very serious destination for capital, and it's a serious city. It's not a little regional town anymore. It's a genuine city.
It's a city in its own right.
Yep.
You almost don't need Sydney. It's convenient that you can get there, but you can do it all from Newcastle.
Yes.
In a way. You've also touched on Pecolbin, the Hunter region. Go grab a few wines and enjoy a weekend as well. So
well, we should.
We'll talk about that later.
But the nice thing is, I mean, it's Australia's oldest wine region, and it's 45 minutes from the CBD. So from your side, Mario, it's literally 40 minutes, and you can be sitting in vineyards. So, and that's attractive to people from out of area, because everyone in Sydney's been to Hunter wine country, but when you think, well, I can be there and back in a couple of hours.
Funny story.
It's attractive.
I actually arrived in Hunter Valley probably January this year. We had a baby at the time, about 3 months old, and I'd bought one of those blow-up mattresses, cot things, whatever. We'd arrived there, and I'd forgot the actual part to blow it up. So we had to find a big W. Nearest one was just past Maitland, and I honestly thought, I've just arrived, I've been driving for 2 hours. Okay, was there in 40 minutes, just under. And I'm assuming that was to do with the Hunter Expressway, but I couldn't believe it. It was you were there so quickly. So
there is so much retail infrastructure in that spine between Newcastle, Maitland and the Lower Hunter. And Maitland for a lot of years was the fastest growing LGA in the state. I'm not sure if it is right now, but there's still a lot of growth and a lot of housing clustering in that area as well. So lots of reasons for people to invest, because government is continuing to invest and the private sector is right behind them.
And we're seeing areas just off the CBD, I guess. So we're talking about Autobiography, where you can get into property with just $10K. That's my only advertising part of the podcast. But Mario, tell us about Wickham. What's the proximity to CBD? We just heard 40 minutes to wine country. I mean, you've almost sold me already just based on that. Mm-hmm. But tell us about the project.
Yeah, so well, let's talk about the context first. So Wickham's it's an emerging suburb. It's on the fringe of Newcastle CBD. Yep. It's a stone's throw away from the hustle and bustle of the city, but it's nestled in its own quiet region. The site that we're developing is just west of the interchange.
Yep.
So the amazing thing about Wickham is predominantly it was retirees, but there's an emerging trend now of first home buyers, retirees, young families, a lot of investors, and a very strong rental market. The great thing about Wickham is you could walk to the light rail, catch that bit at Bar Beach, and the same day come back to the thriving Honeysuckle precinct, have a great meal with your family, head back into town, and be back home, all in the space of a couple of hours. Newcastle is very connected. It's such a connected city. Whether it's the amenities like the beaches, the shopping or the town centres, Market Town, which we can talk a bit about later. I think there's a significant development opportunity there that's happening, which is in Newcastle West. You can even go inland. So if you head to the Broadmeadow, Adamstown precinct, I think 15 minutes will get you far in Newcastle. As opposed to if you had to replicate that lifestyle in Sydney, we're talking hours. Yeah. Ed, something interesting Ed said, I read yesterday, so we do a lot of analytical stuff with Newcastle. There's 1.6 million people who are willing to move regional for the purpose of affordability. And Newcastle doesn't have that many competitors, and I'll tell you why. Its competitors will be Wollongong, Canberra. Don't come close. It's such a superior region and product. I think they've got the best educational facilities, maybe one of the best universities in Australia, not the state only. The health network is so profound. Everyone goes to John Hunter, even if you're out of region. The amenities, the beaches. So it's such a diverse and thriving city, yet within 15 minutes you could access all these amenities. Yeah. And that's what I think bringing people in. And that's what we find with our buyers and our inquiries. We got inquiries from out-of-area buyers. We have a trend now. We're thinking 30 to 35% don't live anywhere near Newcastle or the Hunter. They're either interested or have heard the stigma coming up with Newcastle or want to move there. Yeah. So I think Newcastle's in prime position for that. And
Yeah, we see the same sort of numbers. It's about one in three, one in four buyer inquiries is from out of area.
Yeah. Two things you mentioned that I want to talk. You said I'll talk about Market Town later. Let's talk about it now. What's happened? What is it? Tell me about it.
There's actually two great development opportunities now in Newcastle. One is the you probably know Ed, the Broadmeadow zoning and fast tracking. That's one of the biggest property development sporting precincts that's been fast tracked through the state government. Yeah. We're talking 3,500, I think, unlocked new homes. Yeah. Market Town now, I think, is being considered for a major commercial, retail and a residential hub, and that's a couple of minutes from Wickham.
It is, yeah, it's walking distance. That's probably one of your main sort of retail shopping centres for residents in the area. So that was in the press the last couple of days. There's a major proposal there for some residential density in what's a major inner city shopping precinct. It's a large footprint shopping precinct, and it's screaming out for redevelopment. So that's good news, I think, for that part of the city. It's always interesting in Newcastle. You see these proposals come through, and for whatever reason, they always seem to come through in a fairly orderly manner. It's like just a procession of good, sensible proposals that come through. They don't all happen at once, which is good because the market always seems to clear well. But yeah, there's some great proposals. The Broadmeadow precinct is a major has been a major planning process. As a planner, you know that the state government took the lead on that, and Hunter Development Corporation, or Hunter and Central Coast Development Corporation, will take the lead on delivery with that precinct. That will involve an extension of the light rail out to that precinct, which is about 5 or 10 minutes drive from the city. It's a major sporting, entertainment, residential, multi-purpose multiple hectare site, and that'll go for some decades. But it's a massive vote of confidence in the demand for Newcastle and the fact that there will be lots of people coming into the city.
They're saying by 2029 they want the first round of homes delivered.
Yeah.
Which is
fast.
4 years, which is pretty, yeah.
In New South Wales, that's fast.
For Queensland, for Newcastle, things take a lot longer, but to have the first round of homes, whether it's 500 or 1,000 in 4 years, is significant.
It is. It's good. It's, as I said, it's a vote of confidence by government in Newcastle, and I think they can see that people are voting with their feet, but also they need to lead the way. And Hunter and Central Coast Development Corp have done such a great job with the inner city, Wickham, and all of that honeysuckle precinct. So it's great news that they've got carriage of the delivery of this, because they'll do a great job of it, and that will help make it happen quickly.
And is that a mix of the rezoning? Because I'm assuming it's like a rezoning of the area as well. So is that a mix of apartments and house and land? What's the kind of split do you see?
It's an accelerated rezoning. Mm-hmm. Yes, so it's a mix of diverse type of housing. So for anything from detached homes to dulux, townhouses, and possibly apartments.
Yep.
I wouldn't consider them high-rise. So it's still low to medium density.
Yep.
But it's in an area of Newcastle that's very underdeveloped and underutilised, yet presents a significant opportunity. I always say Newcastle commences with the Broadmeadow, Adamsdown. It's almost a gateway to enter Newcastle. And what a great place to revitalise and renew and attract some more people inland.
It is. It's a really open sort of precinct within that sort of inner city suburban fringe to the CBD. It's always been a bit underdeveloped. There's a lot of open sporting type fields. It's where Hunter Stadium is, where home for the Knights. But it's the Newcastle Showground and a few of those other big format sort of venues that have all needed renewal at the same time. So the fact that there is a strategic plan to deliver all of this in a sensible way with the right agency being Hunter and Central Coast Development Corp. You know that there's a delivery mechanism there to do it as well. So, but you're right, it's a sort of a gateway to that inner city and the inner suburban part of Newcastle that seems to have all the gravity in terms of street appeal and where people want to live. Well, it's not the only part, but that's where people think of when they think about Newcastle.
When I think about lifestyle and areas I want to be, I think about coffee, I think about food, I think with my stomach, right? You both mentioned Honeysuckle Precinct. You mentioned there's good food there. Tell me about Honeysuckle. I want to know more.
It's a more bouge version of Darling Harbour.
More bouge than Darling Harbour.
It's a beautiful part of town.
Yeah.
So it's seafront.
Yep.
All the restaurants benefit from the sea view. Great restaurants, pubs, high-end food as well.
Yep.
All within walking distance.
Yep.
Very accessible.
Yep.
No, you're right. I mean, sorry, it's that strip has really been one of the main I think attractions of that whole harbourfront renewal. I mean, 20 years ago that was all just a fenced off sort of unutilised railway siding, and then as the revitalising Newcastle process unfolded and various private sector developers and the state government came in and did that. All of that opened up, and it's probably it's a real showcase of enlightened urban renewal in terms of how that's worked in terms of residential density, beautiful public domain and restaurants and all that goes with that. So it goes from Wickham, near your site, right up to Nobby's Beach. And then you can walk around the beach if you want to, but lots of great restaurants and, pubs that literally sit over the harbour to, fine dining, wine bars. I mean, they're probably more in your bailiwick than mine, but it really is a destination, and it's not only people that live right there, but it's people from all over the city and further afield that come into some of those destinations. It's really like a high end dining precinct. I think it's more like Barangaroo than Darling Harbour, but I'm biased.
Is there a bit of a tourist vibe happening at the moment too? I mean, great beaches, great wineries, good food. The harbour's there. There must be a bit of trade coming that way from a tourist perspective.
There sure is. I mean, as someone that grew up in Newcastle, I don't ever think about Newcastle being a tourist destination back then, but now. Absolutely, you see people holidaying in Newcastle. Airbnb just goes off in Newcastle. All the hotels are full in summer because we've got some of the best surfing beaches on the east coast. and it really is just such a beautiful city now. People do want to come and say, I'm going to spend a week here with my family in school holidays, because there's so much to do. It's easy to get to. It's just a nice place to be, and you don't have to go overseas to have that nice coastal beachside experience.
Yeah, I love it. And what are some of the stories you're seeing? So, I mean, looking at, say, from an investor opportunity or someone that's moving opportunity, what sort of growth have we seen in recent times? What are we projecting? What are we going to see in that area in the next few years, or what do you think we're going to see in the next few years?
I think in the inner city, certainly in terms of the apartment market, there is still solid demand. I mean, people sometimes, when you see one of these new proposals in the local press, people say, who's going to live there? And I always say to people, well, these things tend not to get built if they don't get sold. So, and they all sell. So I think the demand is still so strong, and the vacancy rates in the city are so low. They're 0.5% flat out. I just think the demand is going to remain strong, particularly with the low interest rate environment. People are going to continue buying. The whole Newcastle story does sell itself. I mean, we all help it on socials, but it does sort of sell itself now. So I think there is going to be capital growth in new projects coming out of the ground. It is more expensive to build things, but the growth, the value is there. The underlying asset value, I think, is there as well. The nice thing in the Newcastle market is that the main part of the apartment, geographically, the apartment sector is fairly contained. So there is a limit to how much, we haven't reached that limit by a long way yet, but there is a limit geographically to how big that can be. So at a point in time, the demand for high quality apartment living in the city is going to outstrip available supply, so that drives prices up. So I think that's probably one of the fundamentals. But even those inner ring suburbs like Hamilton South, Merriweather, Islington, Tyers Hill, all those inner suburbs are going to have a ripple effect as well, and we're already seeing that. We've got, our median price in Newcastle LGA is $1,009,000. Compare that to Sydney, where it's, I think, 1.7. We're at about 60% of the Sydney median. So there's a significant affordability opportunity in Newcastle that will close over time, but it's still very compelling. There is still headroom in the market, certainly, when you look at those metrics. I mean, we won't drag Sydney down. Sydney will drag us up in terms of that median. So I think the fundamentals are what's going to drive it and support it.
Yeah, I love it. And you mentioned some hotspot. I hate using the term hotspot.
So do I.
But you have mentioned some suburbs.
Wickham, obviously.
Wickham is one, obviously.
Well, I mean, we should sort of get Mario's take on this as well.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I sort of live close to the city. I just think the city has just become such a destination and such a fabulous place to be. I think that's always going to be in demand. Moving one step back, those inner ring suburbs, again, always in demand, and that's where the Sydney downsizers tend to come and sell their house in wherever for millions and come and buy something really lovely in Newcastle, 5 minutes from the beach. Moving out, to that sort of second ring of suburbs, Katara, Adamstown, Waratah, Mayfield, New Lambton, they're all such lovely suburbs, and you can buy well, for a fraction of what you'd pay in Sydney, and you're 10 minutes from the CBD by car. So they're the inner suburbs sort of speak for themselves, but some other areas like, when you look at what infrastructure does, with the M1 extension means suburbs and townships like Raymond Terrace and Heatherbrae, which are a little bit north of Newcastle, just near the airport, are probably going to be pretty significant beneficiaries of that, and people will choose to live there knowing there's some uplift, and they'll commute back into Newcastle to work or across to Maitland. People might say, well, I'm going to live there for 2 or 3 years, capture the uplift, and then move somewhere else. So there are some opportunities. I mean, I think Singleton in the Lower Hunter is booming, mainly because of that Hunter Expressway. And places like Carbone in Hunter wine country is really, I think, just starting to hit its straps, and there are some incredible opportunities in that part of the world as well. And it's such a beautiful place, and it's not in the inner city, but it's one of those destinations within the Newcastle catchment that's going to really perform well, I think.
Yep. You'd agree, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, Well, that's, I mean, Autobiography, Wickham, we decided to acquire that site because we thought it was an opportunity to have Newcastle CBD living for an affordable rate. So we're a little bit different to the higher end developer builders that are based in Newcastle CBD and some of the bigger players. So Newcastle has its challenges in construction. So we were able to acquire, we buy well, we buy intelligently, and we pass on the savings as a developer builder to the purchaser.
Yep.
So Autobiography Wickham is probably one of the only developers that can offer an apartment with CBD living at that, still at that 10,500 to 11,500 square, which is unheard of.
Oh, yeah, especially
And
this part of the world.
Yeah, and we can deliver that product. You can, but we don't sacrifice on the luxury apartment build amenities, on the quality of living. Being a developer builder, we're able to capture that acquisition and construction, and we can pass on the builder margin savings to the purchaser. So you could purchase an apartment Wickham, and you'd want to be doing it before that gap closes, as Ed was talking about, still at that reasonable square metre rate. And that's what attracted us to Wickham. You could say you're living in the Newcastle CBD, around all the great amenities, nestled there in the nice Wickham precinct. And you're probably paying rates that was Newcastle East, say, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes.
Because I believe Newcastle West will be the next East End, if not better.
Yeah.
And that's what attracted us to Wickham. And I mean, even with that marketing co-posit, I mean, you've just unlocked a large group of buyers that can chip away at their deposits from now. There's some great grants that are available. I think they brought one forward to the 1st October, I think, the first home grant. Yeah.
The 5%.
5%.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you've now unlocked purchasers who were previously locked out of purchasing. You've got great schemes, co-posit, this first home owner grant, and if we can offer that reasonable square metre rate 2 years before completion, it's an opportunity for new and savvy buyers and investors, because the capital growth, particularly in areas like Wickham, I think would probably sit around the 6 to 8% per annum till we're completed.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Wickham, if you go back, in planning sort of time back to maybe 3 or 4 DCPs, was when Newcastle City Council considered the height in Wickham and the densification of Wickham. So that's probably going back 20 years for 4 DCPs.
Yeah.
But that was when it was contemplated. So it has taken time for that CBD and densification to sort of move to the west. And a lot of people have said that Wickham and that West End is the second or the new CBD in Newcastle. And I think that's where it's sort of going to head. I mean, the rail interchange is now there. There's a lot of built infrastructure there. There's a lot of people living there now. There's a lot of business there. I mean, I think the Department of Planning's there. So there is a lot of gravity in that western part of the city now. So and really there are not many other good sites available to do what you guys are doing. But there are certainly some premium sort of sites remaining. Things like Market Town are a fabulous opportunity because, as I said, it's a vote of confidence in the city. So, not that we need it because everyone seems to want to be here, but it really is going to be that sort of location where there's a lot of gravity in terms of residents, commercial activity and investment. So it's quite an exciting time for Wickham.
I mean, we talk to developers all the time, and the resounding, especially in the Sydney region, they're looking at just to break even a cost of 13,000 to 14,000 per square metre. So to hear that, from a cost perspective, is amazing. So yeah, very unique. It just seems like a no-brainer, really, in terms of the. We had on the other week the CEOs of Rawson and Devcore, so huge land developers, obviously. And we asked the question and said, well, where is the growth for New South Wales and Sydney? And really, there were 2 channels when you take into account the Blue Mountains, the national park down south, and it was obviously that Hume Highway on the way to Canberra, Goulburn, but then it was the Hunter region. That's where they see huge growth. So, like every city, I feel like it's always a game of time. You're always limited by some amount to how much you can buy. So in the CBD, the prices you're looking at in Newcastle now, I think even in 10 to 20 years time, you just get there's just there's so much growth to come out of that. So from even just an investment perspective, let alone the living perspective of being near the beach, taking 15 minutes to drive 30 kilometres, not 5 kilometres in Sydney, which it feels like for myself. It just seems like a no-brainer.
The lifestyle does it for me. Like it's really attractive. Beaches, city, good food, Hunter region.
Always comes back to food.
Wine. It's always food and wine, yeah.
Of course.
But what I'm hearing is, or what it sounds like to me, is just that it's just grown organically. It's just all the right planning is happening, which it's nice to see. And certainly, like Composite success. Since we've started in Newcastle, there's been a lot of success there, and I think a lot of buyers have seen good success or been very happy with decisions made. So it sounds like that may continue. You can never predict the future, but we can certainly look on the past and see that it's been strong, and hopefully that continues. Autobiography. Let's chat about. Let's go for. It's almost time to wrap up, so I'll give you guys a chance to plug what you do. We were talking earlier, Mario, and from a marketing and brand perspective, I like your strategy in terms of you're a developer builder. You call both of them Autobiography is the name of both. Your projects are called Autobiography, like suburb location. So to me, I like the idea of, well, you need to build trust and you want to build awareness. And so if you've got so much faith in the name, in the brand, that speaks volumes to me. Can we unpack that a little bit? Because I do like that. I'm not ashamed to say.
Certainly. So you hit the nail on the head. So typically the builders usually, or the developer, open an SPV and another building entity, and we're like, that's not the direction we're going. So Autobiography's strategy is we hold a lot of the stock, and that's to provide a rental market as well. So we don't want to hide the developer and separate the builder. We thought Autobiography is one. It is the developer and it is the builder. We also provide some options, including LDI insurance for purchase as well. So we want to safeguard our end user. And we safeguard our end user, and we hold close to 40% of stock in all developers that we develop. So that's the reasoning behind Autobiography. We don't want to hide who's the driver behind this development, who's the builder, who is Autobiography. And that's been our strategy from day one. So we're hoping to see Autobiography pop up in Newcastle quite a number of times in the next coming years. So that's the reasoning behind the branding. So we don't want to give it a generic name like the Pinnacle or some of these names that they come up with. So this is who we are, and this is where we're located. And I was telling you before, a great credit or recognition is we had about 7 inquiries who come from people who purchased from Autobiography before. So that speaks volume as to where we're heading and the trust that we're building with these buyers in the Newcastle market.
How can people find you, the project? How can they inquire?
Okay, so Autobiography is now with Ray White, Newcastle, Lake Macquarie. So we've just launched about 7 days ago. We've partnered up with Composite as well. So that'll probably be the first line of inquiry. We are in the initial launch stages, so we still haven't established a display suite. That's how you'll find us, but there'll be some good marketing campaigns and advertising in a display suite launch shortly.
We look forward to seeing that and being a part of it as well, so that'll be fantastic.
We can't wait, so we're pretty excited for it.
Ed, there are also, whilst there's a lot of potential buyers or people that are generally interested in property listening and watching, there's also a lot of developers and business owners listening as well. So tell us a bit about Tri-State and what you do, your chance to sort of pitch out and let us know how we can find you.
Thank you. Well. So Tri-State is a boutique project marketing and sales firm. We specialise in projects, that's all we do. So our clients are developers. We've established in 2017. My colleague Sam Budden's been running Tri-State land sales and Tri-State new homes for a number of years. Tri-State Residential Projects is our division that operates with our apartment clients. So it's tristateprojects.com.au is where to find us. I've personally been in the Newcastle market for about 25 years. I know I look much younger than that, but I guess what we've seen as a firm and as a team of people is the evolution of the Newcastle market, who those buyers are, how the Newcastle market works on the ground. It's very granular and things can change quite dramatically in terms of that dollar per metre number, demand and amenity within a few hundred metres in the Newcastle CBD. So you need to have that on the ground intel, and we offer that to our clients. So as well as the whole end-to-end sales and marketing process from DA to settlement. So Tri-State Projects, I would encourage any developer looking at Newcastle to give us a call. Happy to have a confidential discussion about any site or what the market's doing in general.
Great. Tommy, anything you want to add, mate? Or?
No, I mean, as I said before, I think just it's, from a co-positive perspective, we've always... Someone once described Newcastle as the quiet achiever. You know, you see Sydney in the news all the time, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Melbourne, for good or bad reasons, but Newcastle has just always performed. Certainly whilst we've been doing what we've been doing. We probably worked with now 4, if not now 5 projects with Autobiography. It's great suburb. Good to hear a little bit more about the opportunities. I'm probably thinking there a bit myself, especially when I'm sat on the M5 every day for about an hour and a half.
Might have to seriously look into that.
Absolutely.
And I've loved having you guys on. We talk about very broad topics sometimes here on Property Now, but I love diving deep into an area and a location, and Newcastle certainly seems to have it all. So we might have to come back in a year and see if things are still on the way up and how things are going. But great to have you guys, and thanks for joining us on Property Now.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
This is Jason He, the sexiest voice in property, here to tell you that the Property Now podcast offers opinions on Australian property news for informational and entertainment purposes only, and general in nature. It does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. It does not constitute professional advice. Always seek expert guidance before making any property-related decisions.